So yesterday, I shared in my video about trusting the body and giving different examples from my own life of learning to trust the body. And the context was in what we call disease or sickness or illness, and trusting that the body is doing something meaningful there. And how that experience for me has helped me in this journey of embodiment, further and further embodiment, living in this body, like really inhabiting the body, letting the body live its life, learning to stop interfering with the life of the body. And at one point, I was talking about the fact that your body is never going to be against you. Your body is never going to be battling you or rebelling against you or any of that, because your body is the life. Now, you might feel sometimes that it is. And I recognize that. I recognize that in myself. I recognize that in others. You might feel that that's the situation. And that is the mind's masturbations. That is the mind making judgment calls on life. And the mind can be a beautiful thing, but the mind's place in life is not about navigating life. It's not about deciding where to go, what to do, who to be with, how to say something, how to do something. That's not the mind's job. Mind's job is to watch, research, understand things, make sense out of things for others. It's outer authority. Our mind is good for others, but it's good for doing your work. You're usually using your mind to do mental work, but its place is not in navigating life. Its place is not in making decisions. And that's what it's constantly trying to do, and that's where the suffering comes from. And going through biological processes, which we call disease, sickness, illness, the mind often is what interferes with that, because it's trying to decide what to do. It's trying to control the situation. It's finding problems in the situation. And the body is like, chill. I got this. Let me take care of this. Relax. And that's a beautiful metaphor for all of life, because the body is constantly saying, chill out, relax. And the mind is going, and freaking out about everything and anything. You know, I'm speaking from my own experience. I can only ever speak from my own experience. That's all that's really allowed to come out of me is my own experience. And so when I share, I'm not sharing from a place of I know this, and no, I'm sharing from a place of I know this because I've experienced this and I continue to experience it. And so in this process of learning to trust the body, and seeing over and over that my body is never against me. My body is never the problem. My body's got this. This is life. This is life. This form is what's moving through life. It is life. What the problem is, and what is actually against me, what feels like an enemy, is my ego, not self-mind, or my not self-ego conscious mind. It's like a big word to use, but to describe something that actually isn't me. That's the thing, it isn't me. It's like this mind virus that wants to take over the life and is polluted with everything that's not me. And that's why I'm calling it the not self ego mind. And it's fueled by the not self. In human design, if you don't know, we have the open centers and the defined centers, and the open gates and the open channels and everything. And where you're open is the not self. It's not bad. It's where you meet life. It's where you take in life. But it's where the conscious mind gets so enamored and so focused on those things that are not me, those things that are not consistent. I've got to find a way to stabilize them and to control them. And so this entity that grows up here in the mind is polluted by all of the stuff that's not you. And so what it's this the voice that's going over and over and over again in your mind, that's keeping you in old patterns, that's keeping you in suffering, in mental suffering, is this conscious mind that's fueled by exactly what is not you. Makes me think of, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but if you've ever heard of the term Wetiko, which is the Native American word for a mind virus. This mind virus, that's something that doesn't exist and yet can kill you. If you want to look more into that, I suggest looking at the work of Paul Levy, Levy, Paul Levy, and he's written a few books about Wetiko. Very interesting, because I see Wetiko as this not self mind virus that is personal and collective. If you look around the world, everybody's living in the not self. Everybody is living in this, lost in this mental stuff, this mental crap that is controlling and destroying life. It's destroying life. It's destroying life on earth. And the fact is, it actually doesn't exist. It's something that we give power to, but has actually no real existence. And at the same time, it's so powerful. So that's just a little, that's not my point right now, but it's an interesting concept to look into, this concept of Wetiko. I think it's very apt to describe what we find happening in our minds. And so, if there's one place, like I said in my prior video about you're not a victim of your body, is that your body you can trust. Your body's solid. It's like, because it's unconscious, because what your body does is go through an unconscious process. You live life, it lives its life unconsciously, below the conscious understanding, or below your capacity to control it. So the body is moving along, living its life, and you're like, whoa, what's happening? Oh, I don't know what's happening. Oh, why is that happening? Why am I going there? Why am I talking to that person? Why am I walking away? Why is this happening? Well, your body's got an unconscious life. And so it's not on your conscious radar. It's doing its thing. And because it's on an unconscious level, it's really, what's the word I want to use? Immune. It's not immune, but it's solid in its trajectory. It is the thing you can trust because it's doing its thing. Whereas the mind, this conscious, not self, ego mind. So the mind that's trying to take over, not the mind that's the calm witness of life. Talking about when it becomes this diseased Wetiko, diseased. This mind is polluted by the moment that you came into life and everyone around you conditioning you to be what you're not. And your mind is like, oh, I'm not that. I better control that. I better find a strategy to deal with that because I need to make that part of me. And so you're always looking for the thing that's not you. You're always trying to fix that energy in you, stabilize it, make it consistent, You believe that that's you. So everything you do in life is based on strategies to make that be you. And often, for the majority of us, about 70% of us with an open ego center, we're all trying to prove something. We're all trying to prove that we can be that thing that we're not. And then we end up hating ourselves, which we're not hating ourselves. We're hating this not self thing, which doesn't exist and exists. That's the paradox. And so what I was sharing yesterday is like learning to trust the body, even in these biological processes where we have symptoms, intense symptoms, sometimes chronic symptoms. When you let the body lead the process and trust it, and that's a whole learning thing in itself. I'm not saying it's easy. There's knowledge that you need there that helps the mind get calm little by little, but you see that the body's got it. It's taking care of business. And what interferes is the mind focused on continuing to control that thing, continuing to strategize of how to deal with that thing that it considers a problem. And that's often what got you into the diseased state in the first place, which I hope to share a bit more about this crossing that I'm finding between human design and Germanische Heilkunde and how I'm using it. We'll see if that comes out of me because I never know what's coming out. But in this video, what I wanted to share, which came to me today as I was reflecting on things I said yesterday, because what happens is I say things, I don't know what I'm going to say, then I reflect about it like, oh, what did I say? Why did I say that? What does that mean? Sometimes I feel like it wasn't quite that, it was more this. But I was reflecting a bit today and speaking with a friend, a wonderful projector friend. And then this came to me. I recently read a book by Osho called When the Shoe Fits. And it's a book about the teachings of Zhuangzi. So it's about the Tao and the way. And a lot of gems in here. And I wanted to share a few of them exactly about this idea of why you can't trust the mind. And so my invitation to you is to just take it in and then have a look at your experience. Have a look to see if you can relate to this pollution of the mind and to the broken record of the mind, that it's not really creative. It's telling you, when it's in that mode of trying to run your life, it's telling you the same thing over and over again, and it's usually a bunch of crap about you. Anyway, so here's some things. So just very simply, mind for others, no mind for yourself. And in human design, that's what we learn. Mind is outer authority. It's what you share with others for stimulating, for empowering, for supporting, for whatever you're sharing. Yeah, things from your mind, from your experience, from your way of seeing what you see in life, your perspective, but it's for others. It's for others. And they do with it what they will or won't. But it's not for navigating your life. So it's mind for others, no mind for yourself. This is the big challenge. It's because that thing's running all the time. So learning, and I'm still really learning this, like, how do I ignore it? How do I tell it to just shut up? Anyway, so mind is a mechanism. It cannot give you anything new. It can only give you whatsoever you have fed into it. The mind cannot give you anything new whatsoever. It gives you is borrowed. And if you are addicted to listening to it, you will always be in trouble when you turn towards yourself. When there is a conversion, a turning towards the source, then you will be in difficulty. Then this mind is absolutely useless. Not only useless, it is a positive hindrance. It is harmful. So drop it. This, now this is me speaking. It can only give you whatsoever you have fed into it. Exactly. Your body will surprise you constantly. This unconscious living of life. You're like, whoa, where did that come from? Whoa, what's that? Why am I doing this? Why is this happening? Your mind is a broken record, starting from the conditioning that you were born into. Starting for that family group, and your school, and whoever else is around you, whatever else you've, especially groups, conditioning you into being what you're not. Being what you're not. And so that's going to be the broken record all the time in your life. And this is something that human design gives you shines a light on. You can see exactly where your mental hooks are. You start identifying like, whoa, that is what I'm always telling myself. Yeah, that is where I'm always getting stuck. That is where I'm always getting hung up and not allowing myself to just live. That is the beauty with human design. You see that, and then you see how the body moves, and you watch this dissonance. It's very different. They're different, completely different modes. What's the next one I want to read you? Yeah, I'm going to skip a little bit here to this next part. So life is experience and not theory. It needs no explanation. It is there in all its glory, just to be lived, enjoyed, delighted in. It is not a riddle, it is a mystery. A mystery is something you can become one with. You can dissolve into it. You can melt into it. You yourself can become mysterious. And in another part, I remember he was talking about a riddle is something you try to figure out, and a mystery, no. A mystery, you just sit in the mystery. And so life is not a riddle, it's a mystery. And our mind is always trying to figure out the riddle of life. So we get stuck there, trying to figure it out. Life exists through contradictions, and it is beautiful how life manages the impossible. And I would say life through the body shows you how to live the impossible. The magic, living in the paradox, in the contradictions. Your mind can't figure that out. Your mind's looking for, well, it depends on each person's mind, but usually you're looking for some kind of logical, strategic way to deal with things. And life is like, I'm not that logical. Once you start looking at reality through the mind, then everything becomes a problem, right? Then the ego starts interpreting, and then you only have interpretations. With your answers, you are trying to conquer life with your theories. You are trying to manipulate life, and you think that if you know the theories, then you will be the master. Yeah, well, you never reach that, do you? Speaking for myself. I remember some years ago when had the big pulmonary embolism in 2014. I was like, okay, things got to change. Mutation begins. There's a piece of a mutation there. And in these quote books, actually, I think in my first quote book, I was writing, train the brain, train the brain, train the brain, like retrain the brain. I just need to think differently. I need to think differently. Yes and no. Thinking, giving a different perspective, yes, but actually what I've been needing to learn, I'm still learning, is how to stop believing this, whatever it says, to stop believing it for my life, because it makes everything into a problem. My mind is so good at making everything into a problem. Can you relate to that? I'm sure there's some people out there who could relate to it. And interpreting everything and making interpretations and then trying to conquer life and control life. And life is like, you're not going to control me. I'm just moving. Mind is logical and life is contradictory. That is why they never meet. Life is not clear-cut. It moves into the opposite. The yin and the yang. The pendulum swing. The sooner you become aware and drop out of the trap of philosophy, the better, because life will not wait for you and your theories. It is moving fast. Live, don't think. That is all that those who have known have always said. Live, don't think. Drop thinking and become a being. Your totality is required. Whew. Yeah. And here's the piece that, yeah, well, why can't you trust the mind? Mind is always conditioned. It's always conditioned. Conditioned by what? Conditioned by every single person you meet. Conditioned by the transit fields coming in through the neutrino stream through the planets. Conditioned by the groups that you're in. Conditioned by the society that you live in. Society is this made up thing. It's not life. Society is a construct. It's a mental construct, and it's conditioning you every moment of every day. It's conditioning your mind. Mind is always conditioned. It cannot be unconditioned. Being is unconditioned. Mind is a conditioning. Mind is always trained by the society in which you live, trained by the experiences through which you pass. All interpretations come from conditioning, and only one who is unconditioned can know the real, can know the true. It's living by the unconscious. If you're living by the unconscious, you're living by the body, you're living life. And here, plain and simple, I love it. Mind is hell, and no mind is heaven. Yes, sirree. Yes. You know, I'm sharing this for anyone who feels resonant to it, but I'm sharing it for myself. This is a long process. This body has been here for 47 years. So that's many years of this conditioning of my mind. It's a long time. So that doesn't get broken, it doesn't get shattered in a day. And I've been connecting into the body for the last years, more and more into the body, but then in a more aware path, I guess, or more aware of this thing between the mind and the body since I met Human Design and started following my design, following my body in that way through the inner authority, which was 2019, 2020. And so it's a process. It's a process of, it's a death process. It's killing the Wetiko. It's killing that mind, the not self-ego mind. It's killing that entity little by little, and it takes a while. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take. Yeah. And so there are days where it feels, easy. It's not really the word, but where things just, okay, there's the flow. It's so obvious to follow the body. It's so obvious to trust it. And there are days when this thing feels like it's going to take over. It's ugly. It's hell. And the just being is heaven. Because then, really, truly, the mundane of everyday life becomes magical and becomes a surprise. Because you really don't know what's going to happen. You really don't. And the secret is you don't know anyway. It's just your mind trying to make up stories about what it thinks is going to happen or what it thinks it should happen. And then, the torture, because life, like we've seen, is contradictory. It's just not logical. There's another place in the book where Osho says that it's just a flood. Life is just a flood. Something like that. Yeah. And can be unexpected. And so in that way, yes, I had another video made a while back about my body is ruining my life. but in the way that letting my body take over, it's tearing down the life that my mind says that I should have. But hey, 40 something years of living by my mind brought me a lot of pain and suffering and disease states in my body. A lot of resistance, a lot of energetic hitting against the wall. And so it's had its opportunity for half of my life to rule my life. It didn't do a very good job. So now I'm giving it a go with my body. Why not? What have I got to lose? What do you have to lose? You might have a lot to gain.